Welcome. Come on in, close the door behind you, and just make sure nobody followed you. Welcome to this explainer. Usually, I'm here enthusiastically breaking down complex data or, fascinating historical trends for you, but today is a little different. Today, we're cracking open a classified dossier. We're looking at the terrifying truth behind what society calls a myth. For centuries, folks have whispered about a creature lurking in the dark, freezing forests of Eastern Europe. A witch, a monster. But what if I told you the historical sources suggest something far more real and, honestly, far more dangerous?
See, the texts we've uncovered tell us an incredibly chilling truth. The terrifying legend of Baba Yaga may not simply be a tall tale at all. We really need to shatter that illusion of safety right now. We're going to treat these folklore texts, these historical accounts, as what they actually are: an active, classified paranormal case file. This isn't just some cozy bedtime story designed to keep kids from wandering into the woods. This is a survival record, and you need to pay close attention because the evidence of her existence is literally hiding in plain sight.
Section 1. Decoding a Name of Horror. Let's open the Baba Yaga files.
We'll start with the phonetic clues left behind by ancient victims. We really need to look at what the name Baba Yaga actually means, because, well, names in the paranormal world hold immense power. Baba is common enough. In a lot of Slavic languages, it just means grandmother, or it's used as a kind of pejorative term for an old, dirty, or foolish woman. But Yaga. Okay, let's dive into this. The etymology of Yaga is this linguistic trail of breadcrumbs leading straight into the dark. Back in the 19th century, scholars linked it to the Sanskrit word ahai, which means serpent. Others trace it to the Old Church Slavonic janza, which literally translates to disease. And in Serbian and Croatian, jeza means horror, shudder, or chill. Think about that. She isn't just a witch. She literally embodies disease, cold, and horrific serpents. She is an ancient biological and psychological threat, all wrapped up in one single name.
And this brilliantly illustrates why she is so incredibly dangerous. Just look at this contradictory profile found across our source files. In some encounters, she's described as a repulsive, ferocious entity who fries and eats children. Absolutely brutal, right? But then, in other accounts, she's depicted as a nice old woman who actually helps the hero. Why the massive difference? Because unpredictability is the absolute hallmark of the ultimate paranormal threat. You never, ever know if you're going to get the benevolent guide or the cannibalistic monster. It is pure psychological warfare.
Moving on to Section 2, the chicken-legged lair.
So, where exactly does this entity operate? Let's talk about her physical location. If you're ever out wandering deep in a birch forest and you feel the ground start to vibrate, seriously, just run. Because her base of operations isn't just a building, it's alive. The sources describe her dwelling as a turning forest hut raised on giant, terrifying chicken legs. It actively walks around? Now, scholars, they try to explain this away by saying, oh, Finno-Ugric peoples used to build storehouses on tree stumps that kind of looked like legs. But we know better. This is a mobile, cramped, paranormal vehicle. The texts say it has no stove, and it's so impossibly tight inside that when she lies down, she stretches all the way from one corner to the other. Her bony legs are shoved in one corner, and her abnormally long nose is sticking right up into the ceiling. It's just a suffocating, claustrophobic nightmare on legs.
Which brings us to Section 3, Tools of the Trade.
Because if a walking house wasn't enough to freak you out, we need to analyze her utterly bizarre, yet completely deadly equipment. Because this is not your standard broom-riding witch. Oh no. Baba Yaga's armory is wildly unique, highly aggressive, and honestly, just a little unhinged. The crucial point here is her primary mode of transportation. She flies around in a giant wooden mortar. Yep, like a giant oversized soup bowl. And how exactly does she steer this aerodynamic monstrosity? With a massive wooden pestle. She literally uses the pestle to row through the air, and as ethnographer Andrei Toporkov points out, she uses it as a blunt force weapon to smash her enemies. Meanwhile, she's holding a broom or a mop in her other hand, just casually sweeping away her tracks mid-flight so she can commit her paranormal crimes and vanish without a single trace. It's comedically absurd right up until you realize a terrifying entity is doing a drive-by in a giant kitchen utensil.
All right, Section 4. Encounters and Cover-Ups.
Now, you might be sitting there asking, okay, where is the actual proof? Well, let's look at the historical evidence of her existence, starting with the earliest official government and academic records. People have been desperately trying to categorize this threat for centuries. Just look at the sheer panic hidden in the academia of 1755. A guy named Mikhail Lomonosov wrote a book called Russian Grammar. In it, he lists Slavic gods and matches them to Roman gods. For example, the Slavic thunder god Perun equals the Roman god Jupiter. Super simple, right? But then he gets to Baba Yaga. He lists her, but he leaves the Roman equivalent totally blank. He couldn't categorize her at all. Even back in 1755, the leading academics looked at this entity and basically said, nope, we have absolutely no idea what this is. It has no earthly equivalent. Let's just move on.
And the terror only builds from there, because just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, we uncover a horrifying twist from Alexander Afanasyev's 19th century text, The Maiden Tsar. Are you ready for this? There isn't just one Baba Yaga. There are 3 of them, a trio of identical, terrifying sisters all sharing the exact same name, all operating out of identical chicken-legged huts. It is a synchronized paranormal syndicate.
And it gets worse. They have a biological tracking system. When a hero named Ivan enters one of their huts in the stories, the entity sniffs the air and says, "Fie, fie, the Russian smell was never heard of nor caught sight of here, but it has come by itself." Think about the implications of that. She possesses a supernatural olfactory sense for the Ruski Duk, the Russian scent. She can smell your bloodline, your origin, your very essence the second you step foot into her territory.
So, if you ever do find yourself face to face with the youngest and most vicious of these flesh-eating sisters, you are going to need a survival strategy. Based on the case files of Ivan, here is your literal survival guide. Step 1. Before she tries to eat you, beg her for 3 horns. Step 2. Blow the first one softly. Step 3. Blow the second one a bit louder. And Step 4. Blow the third one the absolutely loudest you can. If you do this exactly right, it summons a massive swarm of birds, including the mystical firebird, which you must jump onto immediately to escape while Baba Yaga is left on the ground grasping at flaming feathers. Seriously, memorize this. It might actually save your life one day.
So, dealing with a threat this massive, how did society cope? Well, through a massive historical cover-up. Back in the 17th and 18th centuries, we see the rise of lubki, these really popular Russian woodblock prints. They depict Baba Yaga riding a pig to battle a crocodile, or, dancing with a bald man playing bagpipes. Now, mainstream scholars claim this was just political parody mocking Peter the Great and his wife. But think about it from a believer's perspective for a second. When a society is truly deeply terrified of a monster hunting them from the woods, what do? They turn it into a joke. They print funny cartoons of her dancing just to mask their sheer collective terror. It was a societal psychological defense mechanism.
Finally, Section 5. Are you being hunted?
Which brings us right up to today, because this entity didn't just stay back in the 18th century. Let's look at how long she has been tracked across time. She is adapting, people. Look at this timeline. We have the 1755 academic panic. Then, in 1874, she infiltrates high culture. The composer Modest Mussorgsky literally writes this frantic, terrifying musical suite about her, Hut on Hen's Legs. Jump ahead to 1979, and she suddenly appears in Soviet media plotting to destroy Misha, the mascot for the 1980 Moscow Olympics. And by 2015, she's the main antagonist in the Temple of the Witch expansion for the globally massive video game Rise of the Tomb Raider. She is a persistent, timeless threat to humanity, cleverly weaving herself into our pop culture so she can hide right in plain sight. We sit there thinking she's just a character on our screens, while she's actually lurking right outside our windows.
Which leaves us with one final, very urgent thought to take away from this explainer. The next time you decide to take a hike in the woods, if the air suddenly goes inexplicably cold, if you smell the heavy, damp earth of the forest turning over, or if you hear the heavy, rhythmic grinding of a giant wooden pestle echoing out in the distance, you have to ask yourself, is Baba Yaga already tracking your scent? Keep your eyes open out there. Class dismissed.